So many entrepreneurs, people in general, are going through that same thing.
I know this feeling very well, where when it gets tough, the wanting to just throw in the towel and say, why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this?
Right.
But again, right, you see little pieces that are being placed in front of you. They're like, that's why. Okay, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new season of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice. I am so over the moon excited because it's a brand new season. We also have an amazing guest today. I know you're absolutely going to love this story. My guest is my good friend, Jesus Rodriguez. You may know him as Ricardo Rodriguez from WWE, which is World Wrestling Entertainment. Please tell me that was correct.
Right.
Thank you. But Jesus is much more than a wrestler. He is also an entrepreneur, which we're going to talk a lot about today. He is the owner of Three Legacies Wrestling here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But much before that, he's a performer with MLW, which is Major League Wrestling. He's best known for being Ricardo Rodriguez in WWE as Alberto Del Rio's personal ring announcer. He's also been on the independent circuits. He's also worked with AEW, and he has quite the amazing, inspiring story. Jesus, welcome finally to the What the Nell podcast. How's it been? Like, this has never happened before.
It has not, but this is the first time I've ever heard myself being referred to as an entrepreneur. So it's kind of,
Yeah.
but I guess when we look back at it, at like the story of the last 3 years, essentially that's kind of what the definition, I guess, can be. I'm very excited to be here with you. We've known each other for almost 2 years now.
That's wild.
Almost, yeah, a year and a half roughly.
Yeah.
And it's been an amazing journey in the last year and a half already, just that we've known each other, let alone the last 3 years that I've been here in Lancaster. But I'm very excited to be here finally, right? We've chatted a few times, but on other platforms, and now to be here on yours, I'm excited.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so glad that we can be doing this today. And I want to know, I've heard your story so many times, and you've told it so many times, but this is a brand new audience. Tell us exactly, how did you get into wrestling? Like, where did the passion come from for that?
So we'll summarize it we'll do the cliff notes, but in an exciting kind of a way. So we'll do like the strong bullet points. Originally from Los Angeles, California. Parents are immigrants from Mexico, and we didn't have a lot growing up. So we also didn't have, like TV and stuff. When we lived in Mexico, I did, watch Lucha Libre as a kid. And when we, came to the US, it was a little different. So we didn't really watch a lot of it. It was more so just kind of put into our minds from the culture when I was down there. And so I've always kind of had this little fascination with the Mexican style of wrestling, which is Lucha Libre, which is very heavy into like the mask, the pageantry, the aerial athletics. And I was always mesmerized by that. As I got older, in the U.S., I kind of got away from it a little bit, went more into soccer. So I played soccer as a kid for 12 years, basically. When I was in high school, I started kind of getting back into it from, some of my teammates. And this is around the time when like The Rock was like very popular, and the whole like SmackDown, and if you smell what The Rock is cooking, that's around that time when I started kind of slowly weaving back into it. And so I did a little backyard wrestling with a couple friends when I was in high school, and it was just for fun. After high school, we just kind of goofed around a little bit. Eventually, I joined a little backyard fed in the San Fernando Valley in LA. And they had a wrestling ring. It was an old beat up boxing ring, but it was a ring.
Gosh.
So we learned, quote unquote. I don't know if this is gonna be like just audio or video, but there's arrow commas in learn
Yeah.
how to quote unquote wrestle. And then from there we were treated as actual shows. We would flyer, we would put out videos, we would do graphic design posters, which I used to do a lot of the posters for the backyard fed. And then from there, eventually, I just, I met somebody that decided to offer me this opportunity to go train for real. And I learned the Lucha Libre style back in 2005. I trained for about a year roughly, and then I started wrestling in 2006, and then it just became a thing. I started going all over the West Coast, wrestling up and down the California coast into Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and then eventually I ended up making a trip over to Germany, which was my first overseas trip to this what would Bremen, Germany. So I went
Okay.
over there for a little bit, and I went to Osnabrück and a couple other places
Wow.
in Germany. And then from there, it just became a thing.
Yeah.
I got an opportunity to be an extra to do a wrestling trial, excuse me, to do a wrestling trial for WWE in August of 2010, and I got offered a contract like 2 days later, and it
Yeah.
just became a
Wow.
journey. I worked for WWE for about close to 4.5 years, roughly.
Yeah.
Um, and it was an amazing time. I got to do a lot of international travel, got to wrestle and participate in like the biggest arenas of the country, Madison Square Garden, American Airlines, the Allstate in
Hmm.
Chicago, the Staples Center in LA. Got to do a lot of international travel because of that, the WrestleManias, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, After WWE, when I left WWE in 2014, 15, whatever it was, I ended up going to India. I lived in India for about 6 months. I opened up a wrestling school over there, and then from after India, I went to Australia. A whole lot of traveling. The unfortunate part of my story, though, is that during that time frame, when I left WWE, I fell very heavy into drugs and alcohol. The depression, what happens when the lights turn off and you're no longer in the spotlight. How do some of us uh, handle it? Well, I didn't handle it too well, so I went down this little spiral downward, and it was not a good one. But I went into this basically like a 7, 8 year binge of just drugs and alcohol, and then it just became a thing. And thankfully, in 2000 and I finally got sober. Yeah, 2002. I finally got sober, so I got 3 years under my belt now and rebuilding. I'm here in Lancaster. Started up Three Legacies Wrestling, and it's been a wild journey the last 3 years. And then that's how we met.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Cliff
was
Note.
actually thinking about that earlier today. I was like, wow, it's crazy to me to think, we met at a local event
Hmm.
and you were walking out the door. And I said to the host of the event, Kyle, I said, do you think Jesus would ever like want to be on my show? And he was like, well, I don't know. You should probably go ask him. And he's walking out right now. I was like, okay. And I started running and I was like, this guy's never going to come to Lebanon, PA, and like do a radio show with us. And you took my card and you were like, yeah. And then we started messaging and then you actually showed up.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, I'm always surprised when people show up and I ask them to do the thing. So it wasn't just you, but I just thought, there was a little part of me that thought this guy's been through so much and he's experienced so much in life that I'm just like peons. Like, there's no way he's ever gonna like that. It's just not enough. And, through a lot of journey and learning and personal development, there's so much to everybody's stories that it's so, I understand why you showed up. You never stop. You never stop. The hustle and the grind is constantly going. You said you've not really heard yourself being called an entrepreneur. Did you
Yeah.
ever think you would be?
I don't think that was ever really like a thought. To me, I guess in my head, it was just like, I'm just doing my thing. I'm doing me.
Yeah.
I'm keeping busy. I guess I never thought of it as entrepreneurship.
Mm.
I mean, by definition, yes, that's basically what it is. But I never saw myself as that because again, I've never been referred to as that. So, like I said, to me, it was just a matter of just, hey, I'm just doing my thing. I'm working. I'm keeping busy.
Yeah.
I'm building something, not just for me to enjoy, but for a whole community.
Right.
And then thankfully, you've been able to see it. It's something that it's not just for me; it's for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah.
And through me, and through the entire team that we've been able to build, it's been something that's just been an amazing success over the last 3 years. And to go from our very first event, which drew maybe like 150
Hmm.
people, to having like the event that we just had in Lebanon in March 2025, which that was just it's insane. And then to do
Yeah.
this on a monthly basis, and
That's
then
wild.
also to juggle the wrestling school and to juggle working for MLW, to juggle the personal life,
Yeah.
the mental gymnastics that we go through of
Hmm.
being able to manage and finding ways also uh to format and to filter our emotions through all of it of the stress and trying our hardest, not saying it doesn't happen, but trying our hardest not to let it get to us to the best of our abilities
Sure.
is it's a skill.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I love that you're touching on all the points that I really wanted to touch on. So I'm very grateful for that. Did you ever, going backwards a little bit, when you were wrestling, backyards and things like that, did you ever think you were going to be a star?
I didn't think I was gonna get to where I got to. I knew I think I had an inclination of I was gonna do something,
Mhm.
because and then you've already met me enough that you I think you'll agree that I'm very stubborn, and determined.
Yeah.
My therapist says I shouldn't call it stubborn. He says I should just say I'm ambitious.
Yeah,
But
that's a better
both,
word.
yeah, but I mean stubborn. Uh, because there's times where like the square cube does not go into that circle hole, but I was like, no, it's gonna happen. Watch, I'm gonna make it happen
I'm
somehow.
going to do it.
I'm gonna do it, and I have to carve it a little bit, but I'm gonna make it happen. So I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, that's also part of like this whole thing of I have been to the highest and I have dropped to my lowest, and I've seen that big gap in what can be done and what can't be done. And I know that if I have the resources and the support behind me, I know I can freaking do it.
Yeah.
And I've done it, and I know that it can happen. So I think that's where the stubbornness kind of kicks in. Um, is it but I mean, also too, I guess like we're just like a lot of us, we want it now, and
Instant gratification.
that hard part comes in. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I want it now.
Yeah. Where do you think that drive comes from, that stubbornness or ambitious
uh,
nature?
I honestly do think that a lot of it comes from my parents, in the best possible way, because we didn't grow up with a lot, right? Like I said, they were immigrants from Mexico, so we didn't have a lot. So everything that they had, it was something that they had worked for, and we were constantly, taught about like the dream of the hard work does pay off. It's gonna suck. It's not gonna be easy at all, but I have seen them accomplish it. My dad, was working like three, four jobs just to be able to keep us going. My mom was working about two of them, so basically, either if it wasn't for my aunt or my uncle that was taking care of us, it was me taking care of my sister or my
Yeah.
cousin taking care of us. So I saw that determination, that hard work from them. So I know it's possible because they were able to accomplish quite a bit. So between myself and my sister, I know it's doable. And like I said, I mean, it's not anything that's easy,
Right.
as I've come to learn multiple times throughout my life, but it's something um, that it can be done. And
Yeah.
and I'm thankful that through this stubbornness and this ambitious heart and drive that I have within me, that it's like, no, it's gonna happen. How? I don't know, but I'll figure it out somehow.
Yeah. I love that. And it's easy to see, the drive and the ambition and the passion for what you're doing, I think comes through possibly as your most dominant character trait.
Yeah. Well, I also do believe though that this has to become an obsession to a degree. It has to become an obsession.
Yeah.
You have to be a little stupid, a little crazy, but also very obsessed with what your dream and your goal is
Mhm.
to be able to accomplish it. The setbacks that just in this year alone, right? The personal
Mhm.
life that has, like I was telling you the other day, just I felt at certain times where life was just grabbing me by the head and just punching me repeatedly.
Yeah.
Um, but it's hard to not let the emotions get the best of us, because ultimately life doesn't care, whether you're sad or happy or whatever. Life will continue, and then we have to learn how to put that aside sometimes, as hard as it is, because I can tell you it's been super hard, and there has been times this whole year, this year specifically, the last couple of months, where my sobriety was in danger just because it got so stressful on the personal life that I was just like, man, screw this. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting myself through all this drama and this chaos, and for what? For somebody? Nah. Um, but then I have to weigh out the pros and cons of what my choices are gonna be, right? So obviously, if I were to go and risk my sobriety for an individual, um, everything's gone. Everything that we have worked for the last 3 years is gone. Everything that we build up, that I'm building into, it will be gone, um, just because I let my emotions get the best of me.
Oh,
And
you're gonna make me
ultimately,
cry.
yeah. Um, but ultimately too, again, I have this constant battle in my head, conversations. I have this constant conversations in
Mm.
my head where I have to constantly weigh out the pros and cons of what my choices are going to be. And I've yeah, there's been a few times this year where I was like, man, screw it.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be so easier just to go back to the bottle and just say, hey, I'm out.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm very thankful that you haven't. And one of the things that I did want to touch on was, this is a I've never been in a position where I've had to, yeah, I'm sure I've recovered from injuries and things like that. I've never recovered from an addiction or something much stronger in my life. And I would even say real live trauma. And I know that this is a daily process, and sometimes it's even by the hour, by the minute, by the second. But what are some things that help you maintain your discipline and your focus daily that you do to keep on the same track?
Everybody's different, right? So when I was going through my sponsor, the very first sponsor that I had in my meetings and my sobriety, he was very on the religious side, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that. You know,
Sure.
hey, whatever makes you function a certain way, that's fine. Who am I to tell you that you're wrong if it makes you a good person?
Mm.
Um, but he was very on the religious side, and obviously he would say that I should basically, hey, kind of give myself into a deity.
Hmm.
Um, and the more that I'm a very much of a hippie, right? So like the energy and love and all that stuff.
Preach.
So I remember one of the first times that we kind of had disagreement. I had told him, I was like, well, I believe in me. And then he's like, no, because that's the ego. I was like, no, I don't mean me, the person. I mean me, the energy, the love, the entity that's within me.
Mm.
I have to be able to believe and love myself in order to be able to reciprocate that energy for somebody else. Why would I be a hypocrite and tell you, hey, I'm this, but then think or do the complete opposite? Um, so so I have to constantly keep reminding myself I'm not doing this for other people. Is it an encouragement? Of course, hey, my mom, my mom put up with me throughout my BS time. So I do it for her, but ultimately I have to do it for myself
Sure.
because nobody else is going to convince me other than me. There are other outside resources or outside folks that can influence, but ultimately at the end of the day, I have the last say in what I believe and what I do and how I feel. Everything else that's outside of me is up for discussion, but at the end of the day, it's me. So I have to constantly remind myself that I'm worthy and I am capable. Um, and I've worked so hard to come this far and just throw it away. I didn't come this far to just let it go. So I think for a lot of it has to start with me. And this is the center focal point. It has to be me. It's not in an ego kind of a way
Right.
at all by any means. Um, I have to work on me. I have to clean my house before I invite anybody else in, right?
100%.
So I have to believe in me first, because
Yeah.
nobody else will sometimes.
You can't
And
pour from the empty cup.
right, 100%. So in order for me to that point, in order for me to be able to help others, I have to be able to, love myself first so I can help others. Otherwise, there's just gonna be a constant drainage of me, and I will have nothing left behind.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, honestly, like by the time we all like pass and we all die, the only thing we leave behind is a memory. So might as well make it a good one. Um,
Mm.
but
Yeah.
that I have to start with me. So this is my encouragement to me is I have to be good within me in order to be able to help others. And I'm
Yeah.
very grateful that throughout building this whole platform, we've been able to help others, achieve a dream. When we do community events, we help others in that sense. We raise money for them, supplies, whatever it may be. We provide entertainment just for those 3-4 hours that we're at an event, they forget about the realities and then just kind of have a mental escape. I used to do it too when I would go to the movies. For those 2 hours that I was at the movie theater, I would just forget about everything else. So it's an escape. The training center, right? The guys are and the girls that are training here. It's giving them focus, and ultimately that's what I have now too, is a focus.
Yeah.
Which ultimately as well too, when I was going through my BS time, I didn't have a focus. So I'm grateful that this is here and we're able to build something. Um,
Yeah. I
and
love that
I've
you
been
call it your
constantly,
BS time.
yeah, it's well, I can't curse, so
Yes, you can. The
okay,
podcast
well,
is called What the Nell.
shit, fuck.
Yeah. Just let your fuck flag fly, whatever you want to call it.
Uh,
Yeah, no, gosh, there's so many mic drop moments. And, I ultimately, when people do hear, I have to focus on me, I have to be the best I can be before I can pour into other people and all those things. And it comes across as egotistical or selfish. And nothing could be further from the truth. Because I don't understand how people could even begin to fathom that you would be able to do all of this, everything that you're doing, for other people without worrying about how you are on the inside first. That's how I feel. And I've never been to an event where there wasn't, a food drive or collecting something for a group or an organization. And I've never been to an event where there wasn't tables of vendors and things for people to touch, see, feel, do, and like the energy and the lights and everything that you guys put into all of this a little bit comes from here in the head, but all of it comes from here in the heart. And
oh, of course, and I mean, it's a 24, no, it's a 25, 40 a day, uh,
573 days a
yeah,
year.
a year, kind of a job, but and then kind of like what I was saying earlier, there's times where I have my moments of doubt. Of course, we all do.
Yeah. Hmm.
Where I'm like, man, what am I doing this for? And then we have an event, and then I see all the smiles, and I see everybody having a great time, and I'm like,
Hmm.
that's why, that's why
Oh,
I'm doing this.
I love that. I love that so much.
I'm in my moment of giving back.
Yeah, that's a great era to be in for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody that you follow in particular for like motivational content? I know people love Alex Hormozy or Gary Vee and people like that. Do you have people that you follow for content?
So yeah, I do listen to a lot of like motivational stuff like on Instagram, on YouTube. A particular person, not really. It's more so just whatever the algorithm kind of gives me.
Yeah.
Um, I know there's some folks that will call it like the toxic masculinity, but that's fine. It works for me though. It works for me.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough because I growing up the way that I did in the Latino community, like we don't talk about our feelings. I know we've chatted about before. We don't talk
Hmm.
about our feelings. I'm a guy. I'm a man. Nobody
Right.
cares, right? Unless my leg is broken or I've been physically hurt. Like I'm fine. Get up. Nobody cares. And then so to a degree, I still believe in that. To a degree, I still believe, hey, the world's gonna keep going. Get up. So I still hold on to that because I need to. Because I've met a lot of people that use an excuse of I'm sad as I can't do shit, and that
Yeah.
doesn't work because the world still has to keep moving. And then we as a team oftentimes move as fast as our slowest member.
Hmm.
Um, so there still has to be a driving force that keeps everything going. And
Yeah.
ultimately, at the end of the day, it has to be me. To me, the driving force that drives this Jesus Rodriguez has to
Yeah.
be me. So am I upset? Am I sad certain days? Of course, absolutely. But the world doesn't give a shit. And I do believe in this whole idea of like mental health and men's health specifically.
Hmm.
I do believe it's a thing. Is
Yeah.
it less respected? Of course. I mean, a lot of people don't care. Um, so and it's shitty. It's crappy because there are people, genuine people that do suffer from it. But I do feel
Yeah.
that as a whole, and we were talking about this the other day. I think as a
Hmm.
whole, a lot of people use it as a crutch to not do what they're supposed to do, and it's an
100%.
unfortunate thing because there are people that are generally suffering from it that get affected and get left behind because other people are crying wolf.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
it's absolutely true. And just coming from a woman's perspective, I know there are so many groups and programs and communities and organizations for women and for mental health. And, there's communities for everybody, but for some reason I do feel like men's, especially mental health, isn't quite taken as
not
seriously.
at all. Not at all. Because I mean, and I'll use a recent past relationship that sort of that I had, where I don't want to be vulnerable around her, and
Yeah.
when I finally did, like she just would ignore it, and and that's a shitty little place to be in.
Yeah.
Um,
As if your
and
feelings aren't as valuable.
Right, yeah, they're like they don't care. Especially when you're trying to communicate with them for the last couple months, and then they could just kind of like push you away and switch the subject, and then it's shitty. It feels terrible, especially when you've already told them ahead of time, like, hey, I don't like expressing my feelings for XYZ reasons.
Sure.
And then they're like, no, no, it's fine. I mean, I'll be there for you. And then sure enough, right?
Yeah.
So and that's kind of where I go back into like I do believe it's a thing and it's something that we have to acknowledge. But as a whole, man, people don't care, especially when you're in a position of for instance, where I'm at. People rely on you.
Yeah.
Then that's you have to be strong sometimes. This whole thing of being in a leadership position is not for everybody because it's very stressful. It's very stressful, and there are a lot of people that count on you to be up in a certain place of strength mentally,
Sure.
because you still have to be the driving force through a lot of things. So we have to
Yeah.
suck it up sometimes,
Yeah.
and
There's
I, I'm
also,
I'm totally fine with that. That comes with
yeah.
that comes with the responsibility of
Yeah.
being in that position.
Yeah.
Um, does it suck? Of course it does.
Yeah.
Of course it does, because you're fighting this battle by yourself sometimes.
Sure.
Um, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's also what we kind of signed up for.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a lot of, there's also a lot of the must be nice people.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, they
yeah.
see they see these things. They see the podcast, they see cameras, or they see lights and things like that. And, oh, it must be nice, and they automatically equate fame with money, or
I wish.
yeah, exactly. Someone please sponsor for What the Nell would be fantastic. Let me tell you, these things don't come easy. They don't come cheap either,
Not at
and the
all.
price isn't always just financial.
No, no, not at all. I mean, the sleepless nights, the falling asleep here in the office because I'm up like at 3 in the morning, editing
Mhm.
or doing whatever, answering emails, whatever.
Yeah,
And then back up again at 6, just to go back to do this for a couple hours before I have to go to actual work.
yeah,
And then you go to work from this time to that time, and then you finish. You start, the other job of training, teaching the guys wrestling, and then
yeah,
you finish that like around 10 o'clock, and then you're right back at it into editing or graphics or whatever.
yeah.
Um, and
Because
then
it
what
needs to be done.
it needs to be done, right? And nobody else is gonna do it, so I got to do it.
Yeah.
And then too, another thing too is like sometimes they'll be like, well, why don't you just like delegate it to somebody else? I was like, well, because because this is my money we're playing with here, man.
I mean, you're great at spending my money.
Yeah, yeah. But also they don't have the same obsession or the same vision that I do,
Yeah.
and that's where like this is our baby, so
Hmm.
we need it to go a certain way, and I'm sure
Yeah.
I know I'm sure you feel it too. This is your job, and if it goes wrong, it's like, man, I should have been doing it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, it's those are the times, those are the, when the cameras are off and it's the middle of the night. I heard you, I think it was your podcast that you were talking about this on, where the sacrifices that you make. You miss birthdays, you miss holidays and things like that. And when you started talking about that, you were talking about it from the wrestling industry perspective because you were on the road 360 days a year. And I I resonated with that because there are times as an entrepreneur that you have to make those calls and those sacrifices. Just recently, I thought I'm going to have to miss somebody's birthday because I'm booking a job, or I'm doing this, or I am going to miss this because I got to be up late editing or something like that. And I, for a second, I thought, is that like inhumane? Should I be deciding differently because, this means so much to that person? And I thought, you know what? No. Like,
No,
I decided to do this. I put me here. I'm passionate about this. I can't grow if I don't make these decisions.
right.
And I wholeheartedly, that's, I think, when I was like, holy shit, he's never been on my podcast. He needs to come on and we got to talk about this because this is a very real thing. And so many entrepreneurs, people in general, are going through that same thing.
I know this feeling very well, where when it gets tough, the wanting to just throw in the towel and say, why am I doing this? What's
Yeah.
the purpose of this?
Right.
But again, right, you see little pieces that are being placed in front of you. They're like, that's why. Okay, I
Yeah.
gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. Um, and I mean, thankfully, and I'm very grateful that the powers that may be that things have gone very well business wise. Are there setbacks? Always. There's always setbacks, but
Yeah.
as a whole, it's been going very well, thankfully, and I'm very grateful for the people around me. I'm very grateful for the team that I have around
Mm.
me, and that's something I think another thing that's very important too, because something that I don't think people have realized is that I've never called this a family. I've always called it a team, a crew.
Mm.
And there's a specific reason for that because I've always been careful about that word. Whenever somebody comes to start to train here, I've always asked them, I was like, have you ever been in a like an actual team before in sports? And if they say yes, cool. I appreciate that because it tells me a lot about them already. If they say no, then it's like, all right, cool. I may have to work with them a little bit. So to me, right, we've all had family members that don't have the same vision as you, that don't have the same goal, that they're not going to work with you, they're not going to support you. The advantage of having a team is that we're all running towards the same goal. We all have the same vision in mind. So we also understand that we need each other in order to get to that goal. Families don't do that. I love my family, I really do, but they were not the most supportive of me when I was starting this whole process at all. My mom, that was about it. And even then, when I started wrestling, my
Yeah.
mom was still hesitant. Um, but as a team, we understand what the same goal is. We understand where we want to get to, and we understand that we have to work as a single unit in order to get to that goalpost.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that's why I've always called this a crew, a team. We're a unit. I've never
Yeah.
called this a family.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes
so
so much sense, and I love that so much. So, how how has I know I love the tangents that we've been on because it's so impactful. But your recovery process and working with your team and your crew, how how has the journey actually helped you in approaching the business itself?
Well, I mean, obviously, the number one thing is that I'm more clear-headed than I would have been had I been under the substance.
Yeah.
Because obviously, we're not thinking clearly at that point. Was that I have some like creative thoughts back then? Of course, absolutely. Oh man, some of
Yeah.
the ideas I used to have back then were insane. Uh, but obviously now I can actually take those crazy thoughts and then process them before I actually act on them, and then be like, hey, this is not a good idea, or maybe this is a good idea. So I think that has a lot to do with it is more focus, definitely, absolutely. And then another thing too is that through my sobriety, if we do encounter some sort of a hardship, my go-to use back then was, well, this sucks. I'm gonna go get wasted.
Yeah.
And clearly that's not the case anymore. So it's like, all right, this sucks. Let me take a step back. How do I fix it?
Mm.
And then that's a huge big difference because back then in my head I was like, well, if I just ignore it, it'll go away, and it doesn't work that way. So
Yeah.
obviously now it's like if I ignore it, it's going to keep growing. So I can't ignore it. How do I fix it?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's amazing. And being clear-headed, especially in times where it's like absolutely imperative that you need to focus. If you're, leadership, you're dealing with people on your team and things like that. Like that's incredible. And that's something that maybe you learned during the recovery process that other leaders haven't learned quite yet.
right.
So,
How to navigate with people and how to deal with people and then how to communicate with them. I think that's also a big important part that I've learned through my sobriety was communication and how strong and important communication is.
mm,
Uh, and then this kind of goes back into the same idea of working as a team that we have to communicate, we have to talk to each other, we have to constantly be on a certain level, all of us together. And
yeah.
if somebody is not, then hey, it's because I get life happens. I totally understand life happens.
Yeah.
But if you don't tell me anything, I'm not a mind reader, uh, and I'm
That's
gonna
the
feel
other
just fine.
thing. Leaders often get mistaken for mind readers.
Yeah, I was like, no, you gotta let me know. Hey, this is going on at home. Cool, that's fine, man. Hey, take the week off, take a couple of days. We'll come back
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
But if you don't say shit, I don't know shit.
Right. I love that. That's that's the quote. That's the favorite quote we're pulling from the episode. If you don't say shit, I don't know shit. What kind of advice would you give to someone in your industry in wrestling that might be dealing with addiction themselves? And, a lot of this is about keeping up appearances, and because you've got fans and you've got supporters and things like that. What kind of advice would you give to someone who is struggling with addiction in that position?
The advantage that we're in now in our timeline in life is that, again, we go back into this whole discussion of the mental health and how it's okay to be open about it. It's okay to talk about it. If it wasn't for a lot of folks that were speaking about it when I was going through my time, I wouldn't have known it was a thing. I didn't know that AA or getting, rehab was a thing. My vision of what Alcoholics Anonymous for like the longest was what you see in movies, a warehouse with like that one light, and then everybody just sitting in a circle with coffee, and still donuts, and that's what I thought AA was. And obviously, after going to meetings and all that stuff, I realized that's not what it is. It's a support system. Uh, and if it wasn't for a lot of those individuals I still talk with, and I go to meetings regularly, I wouldn't have known that help was available. And then the
Mm.
nice thing about something like that is that they don't have to know you, but they do understand your struggle. So they don't
Yeah.
have to know you by name. They don't have to know your history. They just know that, hey, you're battling the same demon that they were. It may have a different name to it. It may have been a different substance, but it's the same demon that we're all fighting. And then ultimately it's ourselves.
Mhm.
And then letting go of that ego, because that's the biggest thing, is letting go of that ego, that
Uh,
I'm fine. It's like, no, dude, you're not fine. I can see it. And I can see it because I walked that line and I've been there. And if it wasn't for a lot of folks that are reaching out to me and then that were straight up saying, hey, you need help, you need to go get help. We're afraid that one day you're just not gonna be here anymore. And yeah, it's okay to ask for help. Just there's people that care. There are people that care. Sometimes
yeah.
we just have to ask.
Yeah. Seems so simple, yet
Yeah,
it's not.
that's
It's
not.
not at all. No. So, all right. Let's move on to a little bit more recent ventures. You've had some amazing shows. You've got the Rumble at, well, it was a,
Wellspan.
what's that?
The Wellspan Park, is that what it's called now? I
Is it
think.
Wellspan or is it, wait,
No,
oh,
Penn Medicine. Penn
Penn
Medicine Park.
Medicine. That's,
Penn Medicine Park.
sorry, Wellspan, do not come for us. No, I did, it was renamed. So I was also like, what is the name
Yeah,
of this
yeah,
park?
Penn Medicine Park in
Penn Medicine
Lancaster.
Park. Thank you. You've got the Rumble, but you've also got your monthly shows. You're at Millersville University. You come to the Lebanon Valley Expo Center. You're doing a lot of fairs this summer. You've got all these amazing shows, and these are highlights. Um, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've come across when you're putting on these shows? I mean, this is not easy.
No, no, not at all. The number one would be finding time. That's probably the hardest one because it's not just, hey, we're putting on an event, right? It's the organizing, the dealing with the talent, the financial. It's it sucks, but that's manageable.
Yeah.
That's probably like one of the easiest parts. Actually, is the finances. It's probably one of the easier parts.
Okay.
It's organizing everything
Mhm.
and getting everybody on the same boat. This is where being like a sheep herder and then getting your team together and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
we're going this way. Come on, let's go." So that's sometimes that's hard
Yeah.
getting everybody on the same page, because every now and then somebody will be like straying off to the side, and you're like, "No, no,
Sure.
no, come over here. This is
Yeah.
what we're doing. We're going this way." Um, that's definitely probably one of the hardest part is organizing, and then me, and I'm sure other people are the same way too. I have to go over my stuff like over and over and over and over again to make sure I have everything crossed off, and even then I still miss stuff. So that's definitely one of the hardest parts. But at the same time, I think time is probably my biggest uh, opponent,
Yeah.
between, because like I said, between like the real life, the personal life, the real, which is not even much of a personal life anymore, the real day work, and then the training, and then finding that little gap to still be able to run my errands, my adult stuff. Uh,
Yeah. Adulting.
Adulting, which that was supposed to be my Friday, but I got so much stuff that got added on like last second,
Yeah.
because everything just starts piling up.
Yeah.
So managing all of that stuff, and then um That's probably the hardest part. But
Yeah,
I have to make sacrifices here and there.
sure.
So staying up late sometimes, waking up early, just for that hope that we're gonna be able to have a success story later on. So I really hope that my success story is a happy one at the end of the day because the process is shitty sometimes. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm really hoping that this actually works out. Not just for me, but for everybody, right? For everybody that's involved, because there's a lot of things that are riding on it and a lot of people that are counting on it.
Yeah.
And and even though and respectfully, I'm not doing it for them. They are a part of why I'm doing it.
Sure, of course. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's everybody's got laundry whether you're an
Yeah,
entrepreneur or not, but
yeah.
you got to do the laundry
I
sometimes.
should probably install like a washer and dryer here at the school, and I think that'll be fine.
There you go. Then you don't need to leave. Do you have a specific way that you manage your time? Like I'm a big fan of time blocking. I
Uh,
don't, everybody has to do something different, but
caffeine,
ah,
caffeine.
I've been leaning on that a little bit more
Yeah,
lately. I think you've recognized too.
yeah, yeah. Decaf for you.
So, now, okay, so you're training the
Mm,
next generation of wrestlers,
trying
which
to.
it's amazing to see. Kenny and I talk about this a lot. I think the first show that we came to see for Three Legacies was in December of 2022. And it was at Brightside. That's where it was. And we thought the quality of wrestling was awesome then. But like the what you guys are putting on now is like you can't compare. There's been so much growth and it's amazing to see this. And I'm not even just talking about, equipment or like fancy things. I'm talking about the talent and the progression that a lot of these wrestlers have made. So, what are some of the core values or lessons that you want your students to walk away with?
There's a whole array of them.
I'm sure.
And I'm a big advocate that hard work does pay off. It may not be sudden, it may not be instant, but it does pay off in the long run. And thankfully, if you also portray yourself in a certain way and then actually believe in your own professionalism and then carry yourself a certain way, but actually genuinely in your heart believe, hey, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna be as professional as possible, um, and be of service to others, and I think that also is gonna be very beneficial to them in a business standpoint. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff. Hard work number one. Hard work number
Yeah.
one. Being responsible, growing up. I think that's a big thing that I've seen with a lot of the guys here and the girls.
Mhm.
Is I can see them mature,
Mm,
and then also understand that things are not just given to them; they have to earn it.
mm,
Because also at the same time through my travel experiences, I've got to meet a lot of folks that didn't just have stuff handed to them. They had to work for stuff, and they showed a lot more gratitude. And I think that's also another key point to all of this is that appreciating and learning to have gratitude for what they have, because we are in a very me kind of a
sure.
society,
Mhm.
and we want it now. As I
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like I want it now. And sometimes when we get it so fast, we don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, so that's definitely something that I want them to carry on is that appreciation, gratitude, teamwork is number one. And these are all life skills that not just for
Yeah.
wrestling, it's just for
Right.
life in general.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hope to inspire them to be better, to be better people and to be better human beings and to be able to give back and not take things for granted. I saw something not so long ago. It was like a Kobe Bryant video, and he did say something about like greatness doesn't come from an individual, it comes from I think like a memory or being able to inspire others. That's where greatness comes in. So it's not just like a one person one day thing.
Yeah.
It's a memory and a thought that will carry on for decades and generations, and so I hold on to that. And kind of like going
Yeah.
back to what I said earlier was at the end of the day, when we all die, we're gone, right? So our physical us is gone, but what's left behind us is a memory. So let's make it a good one. Let's
Mm.
inspire folks.
Yeah. Full circle moment. My goodness. We've talked about so many amazing points and factors that have contributed to what has led to your success and ultimately failures and building back up and all the things. And, it's been such a journey. What do you see for the future of Three Legacies? Is there, big dreams or, big thing? Obviously, you guys always have something big coming up, but like, what are some of your future goals? Like, what's next for Three Legacies?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I would like to do accomplish. I mean, obviously, I would love to get on TV. I would love to get this,
Yeah.
on TV somehow. Getting us to not just be in a couple counties here in the southern central Pennsylvania area, but also throughout all of PA, which we've already accomplished quite a bit of that. So expanding. The first year that we started was just kind of establishing ourselves. The second year that we were doing us, as a whole, was a full on, let's cement our base foundation here. And then this third year that we've started in 2025 was expansion. So every year we have something new coming up and something new. So that's what we're doing right now is we're expanding to as many places as possible. And the
Yeah.
nice thing about social media is that the algorithms and then the analytics can tell us where all the fan bases and all the clicks are coming in from. So
Mhm.
that's also gives us an idea of where we can potentially hit and go and be able to provide that same entertainment because they have been coming to us. So let's see if we can go to them.
Yep.
So it's expanding. That's where I'm at right now. That's where Three Legs is wrestling.
Yeah.
Also, too, is and then some of them are already doing it. Was getting some of these guys on TV, whether even if it's not us right now individually, but getting them on AEW, getting them on Major League Wrestling, getting them on eventually on NXT, TNA, WWE. That's the goal. I've said it many times very openly was that I want WWE to come to me or even AEW and say, hey, whenever they're in town, hey, we
Mhm.
need 5 people. Who do you have? I want to be that feeder system to WWE or TNA or MLW or or AEW.
Mhm.
I want that. So that's a goal that I have it in my head. And
Yeah.
I'm confident because I go back to the same thing. I'm stubborn and obsessed and stupid and obsessed with all this, and it's gonna happen. And
You
I'm
threw
currently,
stupid in there. I don't like that.
um, but I'm grateful like I said, I mean Zoe Cannon has already been on MLW.
Yeah.
Our referee Mikey Austin has been on MLW. So
Yep.
it's little by little, right? We're gonna get them there. It's just it's a process, and I
Yeah.
hope that the process knows that I'm trusting it because there's times where I'm like, hey, dude, this
Excuse
wake
me,
up,
Mr. Process.
yeah. So, but it's a process. All this is a process. So, we just keep going and we keep swimming and we keep moving forward.
Yeah, and YouTube is a great place to find those analytics for
Hmm.
where, those clicks are coming in from because you're watching your shows and things like that.
Hmm.
And, that's really smart. And, there's something so refreshing about talking to a business owner or entrepreneur that, one of the quickest ways to lose me in a conversation is an introduction with, I'm an 8-figure business owner.
Yeah.
That's all well and good. We would all love to be 8-figure business owners, and some of us will be at some point. But I love hearing you talk about your goals from let's get our talent and our crew on TV. Let's get them here. Let's do this and let's do that. Let's expand. And I love those goals for you. And I'm not just, listening to another, my goal is to get to, 2.1 million this year,
Right. But
you know?
also too, right? The whole thing with all of that though, it has to start somewhere.
Yeah,
And it has to start with the foundation of it. So you have to build that
sure.
foundation first. And that one day starts with day one, right? So we're here and we're doing something, we're getting the team together and we're trying to get the team to have one central mental focus of this is where we're going, this is where we need to work to get to. And little by little, right? We're taking it step by step, day by day. We're gonna get there. Somehow we're gonna get there. And
Yeah.
like I was telling you the other day, yesterday or the day before was I don't know what the this weird feeling is, but I feel like we're on the cusp of something big. What it is, I don't know. But for
Yeah.
a little while already, I've been having this weird inclination because life has been life has not been easy the last couple of months. But also, I do know that like so long as I keep pushing through it, all of that will pass, and then I'll see the light at the end of that dark tunnel that's trying to like hold me back because there's something that's trying to refrain me from pushing forward, And I don't know if it's a warning, or I don't know if it's like just a lifetime something that's like holding me back to say, hey, you should just stay here. But I'm like, no, watch me. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
So what it is, I don't know, but I have this little feeling that something's about to burst in a good, positive way, and not just for me, but for everybody that's involved.
I'll contact my astrologer. Maybe she can help us.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for sharing what you know, what you've experienced, and ultimately impacting and inspiring anybody that gets this message. We'll obviously have contact information for you in the show notes, but where can people find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to, maybe touch on something that you've talked about today?
The way is through the Facebook on the Three Legacies Wrestling page. I run all the social medias. So between that, 3L Wrestling on Instagram, Three Legacies over on X, YouTube, or on my Instagram is at the letter J _ Rodriguez 818. Yeah, so that's probably the easiest way. But ultimately, all of this starts with the support of everybody that's out there, right? Just a simple click, a share, a comment, a like, all that helps because it adds to the algorithm, to analytics, and that simple share, it could reach out to somebody who's a wrestling fan that would not have known about us. So all that helps, and then in return, I mean, it helps everybody that's around grow as well as a performer.
Yeah. I wish more people knew that. And so that's incredibly important. Might I also recommend heading to, if you are in the Lancaster, PA area, definitely check out the schedule for shows. I know the Rumble's coming up. We're in June now, so you've got shows each month and a lot leading up to that. So definitely head to 3LWTix.com for tickets to those shows. There's also merch. I love this shirt so much because it looks like vintage. I just like the look of it. But all the ways, different ways to support for sure. And Jesus, thank you, my friend. I love you so much, and I will actually see you in a couple of hours. For raging. So to everyone that has listened to this podcast, thank you so, so much. If you are listening on your favorite audio platform, don't forget to leave us a review. That's how we grow. And if you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with someone you think needs to hear this incredibly important message. So thank you to all of you. Welcome to season 4 of the What the Nell podcast. We've got tons more coming up this season that I know you're going to love. So stick around. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.